We are in the heart of the Roaring 20s here in IF and Rule's Effganic Genesis mod on TEW IX, as we attempt what may be one of the toughest challenges in any local to global you've seen. With very few resources and an even more limited database of workers, serious challenges have been posed. In this episode, we begin to turn around our roster, and we'll even see our rival SPW steal what may be our biggest star. And in addition, one of the world's biggest superstars gets into some major drama. This is going to be a huge episode, so stay tuned. So to begin this episode off, we're going to address the infamous poor morale of our locker room through some character ideas, and maybe a couple other means. Now, we've already given some character ideas to a few of these guys. We've given these guys some monetary bonuses to try to improve their morale. That has not yet worked. However, we're going to continue to chip away by using some of these character ideas. And our first move in this instance is going to be to give our boy Benson Sandy a character idea. And this one is a near certainty, so hopefully it works. There's still a chance that it doesn't work, and if it doesn't, this is going to backfire in a huge way. However, I really think this is going to work. It was in fact a success. It does not improve his momentum or his morale. We're also going to use a bit of a gamble on one of the newer wrestlers that we picked up, or at least one of the people lower on the totem pole. Bryant Hines, it says he's set to debut a goth gimmick. He is in a good mood. He just got signed. That's probably why he hasn't been in the locker room long enough to realize what a depressing and terrible place this is to be yet. But we're going to change his gimmick really quick. Bryant Hines is yet to debut, so we can change his gimmick up as much as we want. And this man is going to be over the top 1920s kind of, that strongman Carney style a little bit. He is a brawler. His picture may not lead you to believe so, but he's actually got a body type of flabby, so we're going to keep him on a gimmicky cartoonish until he can maybe get into better shape in a couple years or something like that. He is already changing his body shape, but as of right now, he may not be a super serious player, so we're going to give him that gimmicky character, really capture the essence of the 1920s with our man Bryant Hines. We've also changed Gary Cowell's gimmick to The Big Deal. I think that just makes better sense than badass. And August Washburn, who's only been on the roster for maybe a couple of events, he's already in an annoyed state. So we're going to try that a bit of a gamble character idea and see if it would help. This guy is not super important to the pecking order right now, but he does have that positive personality type that we want to try to keep his morale up so he can try to help the locker room as much as possible. And it was in fact a success. All right, so we take that, we see an immediate change from him. It changes his momentum. It brings his morale back up to at least normal to hopefully add some positivity to this locker room that so desperately needs it. And one final thing that I've decided, I think we're going to change our product style. The Southern Wrestling is not ready to be implemented here in the 1920s. We just do not have the star power. We don't have the popularity. We don't have the charisma. We don't have the psychology, experience. You name it. We don't have it to create that kind of product. However, this Carnival Days, I think this might be just what we need. And so basically what this highlights is short matches, short angles, mostly matches, and a little bit of angles. And I think that is almost ideal given our roster's inability to put on long matches. No one has the psychology to put on more than a 10-minute match, it seems. So we're not going to be putting on any world-class bouts anytime soon with the roster that we have. So we're going to make this change to Carnival Days. You can see that the products are quite similar. It would only take a little less than half a year for this to complete. More or less 6 shows. If we can finish out 1925, we will head into 1926 or the better part of 1926 under this Carnival Day product. And I think that is going to help us a little bit and maybe temper the expectations of the crowd a little bit. So let's make the change. Before we dive into the next show, we do have some bad news. Haruki Etsuko is so angry he has decided to turn in his notice. He will be gone in 30 days. He's just too angry, too unhappy in the locker room. It's unfortunate. He's traveling a long way to be here, and so it makes sense. However, the Haruki Etsuko experiment was in fact a failure, and this means Corey Edmonds will not be able to get in the ring for any kind of in-ring competition anytime soon. So this next show will be our last show that we have the option to use Haruki Etsuko. It's unfortunate, but we weren't putting all of our eggs in a basket for Corey Edmonds to be an in-ring competitor anyway, so we're hoping that we can find another road agent along the way sometime soon. We see Bryant Hines' body type has changed and upgraded from flabby to average. I think you can do it like every 2 years or so. So hopefully his morale isn't so bad when that time comes that he might be willing to improve his body shape once more. With that being said, I think it's time to get into our next show, The Amazing Grappling Spectacle 7. We're not going to give anyone the night off on this one. we're going to see just what kind of locker room issues arise from having everyone in the locker room tonight. We will stay in Oklahoma City, get a decent amount of creative energy, and there's actually, I didn't do it this time, but there's someone we're going to take a look at and see if we can maybe get them into the booking team as well, so stay tuned for that one. Now here's where the fun starts. Kyson Mays was brought before the wrestler's court, accused of annoying everyone else with constant boasting and a cocky attitude. The judge, Kelvin Gebhardt, the locker room bully, found him guilty and sentenced him to remain silent for the rest of the night and then buy drinks for everyone after the show. Alright, I mean, if Gebhardt says so, that's the way it's going to go, I suppose. Jamari Meese and Black Bull, two big personalities starting to clash. Meese spreading rumors about Black Bull, which almost led to a fist fight between the two. We're going to do a slap on the wrist. Nothing noteworthy came from it. Super Demon has gotten a lot of heat with the rest of the locker room after pulling a tasteless rib on everyone backstage. So we're going to give him a stern warning because you can't be fucking with everybody, man. Come on now. Had a small impact on him. Gary Cowell, the big deal. And of course, getting into an altercation with Haruki Atsuko on his last night in the locker room just to really drive in that Haruki Atsuko hates the Wham. And, you know, he's already gone, so we're going to give him a slap on the wrist. And Gary Cowell, the big deal, the pickle man, continuing to cause problems in the locker room. With that being said, we're going to pull a rib. I'd like to pull a rib on someone who's irritated and not annoyed, but unfortunately we don't have anyone who is just irritated. So we're going to pull this rib on our man, Black Bull here, and see what happens. Gone down well with the rest of the locker room, and Black Bull was upset by the rib. That's not what we want. Black Bull has some of the most star power on our entire roster, so we cannot push him to the edge. We're all booked up for the amazing Grappling Spectacle 7, and we'll take a look at what's in store. Show opens up with Kelvin Gebhardt doing poses for the crowd. The first match, Keith Truax versus Yuvraj Tanel in some junior heavyweight action. The big deal, Gary Cowell taking on August Washburn in some cross-division action. Bryant Hines makes his debut against Benson Sandy. We also have an appearance from Kyson Mays speaking to the crowd, addressing his attack from 2 months ago. Neil Allman is in the ring against Corey Edmonds, which may be Corey Edmonds' last match for quite a while. And we once again have a segment with Bronson Fraley displaying his strength given the success that we had last time. And our main event, Wayne Blankenship versus Albie Dewberry, the tiebreaker, to see who is going to come out on top in this one. Let's get to it. So the show opens up with a standard segment. Kelvin Gebhardt not scheduled in a match, but we wanted to give him on the show. It's been a little while since he's competed, I think, so we got him just a little segment to give him some popularity to the crowd. The next match, garnering a whopping segment rating of 1. If you've seen any of our episodes beforehand, we know that the road agent referee situation is just going to be our Achilles heel for quite a while. But the story in this one, it had a decent reaction from the crowd, awful wrestling, but the story here is that Super Demon came out, distracted Yuvraj Tanel, got his attention, and Tanel went straight for Super Demon. He left the match, giving Truax the victory by countout. Now, Keith Truax may be a bit of a liability in the ring here. You see he gets penalized for poor basics, psychology, selling, and as well as being inexperienced. I'm not going to knock him on being inexperienced because just about everyone is inexperienced so far. However, poor fundamentals really may be an issue for us, so we're going to have to keep an eye on Truax here. In our next match, Gary Cowell picking up his first victory that was not awarded to him by forfeit. He forced August Washburn to submit after about 7.5 minutes. And of course, Gary Cowell, the pioneer of chicken shit heel, blatantly cheating to get the edge up on Washburn. Another poor match. Here we got a segment rating of 7. These single digits are what truly kills me. Now you see here the match descended into chaos after the Black Bull got involved. What happened here is Black Bull came out and sabotaged this match, ending in a no contest, a draw for both men. It's likely that the injury came from the match, which is really unfortunate considering Benson Sandy has been one of our more consistent workers. Broken ribs shouldn't linger for too long though, hopefully. The next segment featured the return of Kyson Mays, who specifically asked for the microphone and a chance to speak to make a formal challenge to the man who took him out a couple months ago, Gary Cowell. The crowd really hasn't been into this show, and that affected the next segment as Neil Allman and Corey Edmonds only garnered a segment rating of 8. Both guys delivered performances of at least 20, though a laundry list of penalties would plummet the rating. Bronson Fraley is once again out in front of the crowd, performing feats of strength that wowed the fans. However, this time around the segment is interrupted by Jamari Meese. Meese rushed the ring and began attacking Fraley. A skirmish broke out and sent Fraley retreating. This aggressiveness from Meese was something the crowd was not used to, and the segment ended with a rating of 16. The main event of the evening featured 2 of our better in-ring performers, which makes this poor rating that much more disappointing. Because of the weak crowd, these two really weren't able to take advantage of the spotlight given. These two were penalized for trying to go all out, which is really disappointing considering these both have solid stamina, so I'm not sure what part of their attributes penalized them for trying to go all out. This is definitely one of our darker shows. I think this was largely due to Haruki Atsuko's involvement with his awful morale, as well as the match between Truax and Tenel that really just killed the crowd and ruined the flow of the show. We'll attempt to uplift some of our bigger stars and feed their egos a little bit, which leaves them pleased. Benson Sandy's broken ribs will in fact be healed by the time the next show rolls around, so that is a good thing. And our ticket sales top $200 for the first time, which is a plus as we do continue to grow in attendance with each show. However, we gotta do something about these poor shows, man. We gotta see some kind of improvement in the ratings. And if you're enjoying the series, please leave a like down below as that is a major catalyst to the continuation and success of this series. And I think one thing that may be necessary is going back to this product here, and we are going to not enforce the face and heel divide from a gameplay standpoint. When making our stories and our canon, we will still acknowledge the face and heel divide. However, our roster is just too small and there's not enough guys in the database to truly give us a good face to heel ratio with workers that are worth a damn. So we're going to make that change. We're going to save it up. And now hopefully we will not have our matches killed because we have a face taking on a face in some competition. Raul Erickson's body type has completed. He goes from bulky to average. Benson Sandy, we already know about the broken ribs. However, we do confirm that it was from Bryant Hines, which is not a good thing because that is going to dampen his morale as well. And he was like one of our only happy guys, so that is really unfortunate there. Jamari Meese has changed his wrestling style and he is now classified as a powerhouse. He is about 270, so that does make sense. Benson Sandy all healed up from his broken ribs, and Haruki Atsuko is officially gone from the Wham. Now we're going to make a play for what could be a huge move for the Wrestling Association of the Mid-South. We are going to make an offer to Saita Kuroki, who was a part of the original crew in 1920 on this database. He was a part of SPW, but you can see here that he left SPW not too long ago. And this guy has great popularity. He may just open up the door for us to get into Japan, and his skills are not terrible. You know, he's got 54 psychology, 19 experience, 100 reputation, some solid brawling skills. Now this guy's got quite the backstory here. You see, he was a very successful sumo in Japan who saw his career cut short by a knee injury and his penchant for cheap shots, mostly the cheap shots. So this guy, although it's not in the attributes here, he may be just the kind of heel that we need. We are kind of building up a few heels, so maybe this man will be the babyface. Who knows? A sumo wrestler being the babyface in the Mid-South in 1925 is something that I can't imagine. However, thankfully, this is a video game. We're going to send this man a contract, and we're going to try something different here. We're going to give him no merchandise, but I'm going to give him 30 per show and see if that works. Okay, it seems to have worked, and, you know, we're probably not making enough merchandise to really offset this anyway, but we're going to see what comes about. Although we're going to have to see in a few days, in the next month rather, if we can get him for our next show. So the people that we're going to give the night off are the big deal, Gary Cowell. He always seems to be causing some kind of issue. And he will be the only one we give the night off to. We are going to be back in Oklahoma City for this one. We're going to continue to spend our creative energy on character ideas to hopefully alleviate some of our poor morale. This one we got for Black Bull. A safe bet for Bronson Fraley, which is a good thing. We need those safe bets. We need those high likelihood of success. Benson Sandy was brought before the wrestler's court, thanks to Kelvin Gebhardt, of course, but it did have a small positive impact on Benson Sandy. We do not need Bryant Hines to start acting like Steven Vecchio. We need that to be the other way around. We do not want to lose an irrepressible personality type. That is one thing that simply cannot happen. Jamari Meese and Rahan Suttle had to be separated, and now we are back with Black Bull, who failed to show up for a scheduled meeting with a road agent. We're going to give him a stern warning. This is the first time he's missed a meeting. I know I fined someone for being late. I'm going to try to change my ways and not piss off my staff already. Nothing noteworthy happened from it. Corey Edmonds and Rahan Suttle almost got into a fight. Now, this is our first issue with Corey Edmonds since March, so we're going to give him a stern warning. And Corey Edmonds is annoyed at this action. Kelvin Gebhardt provoked Jamari Meese into a huge heated argument. These two just have very confrontational personalities, and they're both annoyed already. We're going to go with the stern warning and see what happens. Nothing noteworthy. All right, those are the issues. The issues are becoming less and less, it seems. We're going to try to inspire the locker room for this show, and the entire locker room is now fired up and buzzing with anticipation. Let's make this a good show. Given Bryant Hines' poor fundamentals and really low safety rating, we're going to make him more of a manager type. I really want to keep his personality in the locker room, because in the 1920s, an irrepressible personality type is something rare. So we're going to create a partnership between Bryant Hines and Benson Sandy, as Hines makes an attempt to alleviate the relationship between the two for injuring Benson Sandy. Okay, getting ready for the amazing Grappling Spectacle 8. This is a full match card. We are utilizing the entire roster for this big night. We've got the locker room inspired. Everyone is buzzing. Opening up the night, we've got Super Demon and Yavraj Tanel going at one another. Finally, after all of Super Demon shenanigans, can Tanel make Super Demon pay? In the next match, junior heavyweight division action with Albie Dewberry and Steven Vecchio going one-on-one. And you can see there is a little bit of something going on after that match, and we'll just have to wait and find out. Keith Truax in cross-division action against the giant Raul Erickson, truly going up against the odds in a David versus Goliath kind of matchup. And we've got Benson Sandy going against August Washburn in heavyweight action. Kyson Mays versus Gary Cowell following the challenge set by Kyson Mays last month. And Neil Allman versus Kelvin Gebhardt for the last match of the night. More heavyweight action. And then the true main event is a strongman competition between Bronson Fraley and Jamari Meese. I really hope we can get a better rating than last time. Let's find out. All right. The show opens up, segment rating 14, Super Demon with an in-ring performance of 28. Very nice. The match was 10 minutes long, causing it to drag in the middle. We know we cannot get away with these long matches. However, we really needed to even up our angle to match ratio, so we took the gamble here. This match did get the show off to a strong start. And in that match, Super Demon defeated Tanel with a submission after using the ropes as some leverage that Rahan Settle did not catch. The crowd was fired up. They were hot that the ref did not catch, Super Demon being a sneaky little shit, although that changes nothing and Tanel does take the loss here. In the next match, Albie Dewberry, Steven Vecchio, segment rating of 11. Dewberry picks up the victory over Vecchio, and Dewberry is really making a case for himself as one of the top junior heavyweights in this division. Wasn't even 7 minutes long and it still dragged in the middle. That hurts. However, this segment does get a decent rating comparatively from what we're used to, as Wayne Blankenship is spotted at the entrance, applauding Albie Dewberry after securing a victory, hinting that there may be some unfinished business between these two. We've got another match that just absolutely killed the crowd, and this really hurts. Another segment rating of 0. Raul Erickson, I think he's got to go. He's a big man, and he's even got decent morale. However, this really hurts. We cannot deal with segment ratings of 0. We can deal with the teens, working our way up to 20. However, the single digits, the zeros, we cannot stand for that. I don't think we're going to have Raul Erickson on the roster for much longer. And with that being said, we got to go back to the booking screen and change up this next match so we can get it to work the crowd a little bit. Hopefully we can get the crowd back into it for our main event, as the latter half of this card is really what's going to determine if we have a good show or not. Benson Sandy, August Washburn, decent wrestling, not much heat, but it does get the crowd back into it a little bit. Benson Sandy delivers an in-ring performance of 27, Washburn 23. Nice job, boys. Segment rating of 19, and we see Bryant Hines down at the managerial role for Benson Sandy, trying to get back in the good graces of Benson Sandy. A pure partnership between these two, mostly because Bryant Hines is not a safe worker in the ring. So we gotta keep his personality around. We gotta keep him gaining popularity. However, I don't really trust him in the ring right now. All in all, decent match. And this segment did not get any better. That is unfortunate. Kyson Mays makes his way to the ring in hopes that Gary Cowell answers the challenge from last month. However, Mays is left standing in the ring until Frank Norris makes the announcement that Gary Cowell was in fact given the night off, which we all saw earlier in the night. Another segment of 12, Kelvin Gebhardt, despite having really good physical attributes, he really struggles to put it together in the ring. Neil Allman is one of our better performers, so I'm going to place the blame here on Kelvin Gebhardt. The match was 7 minutes long and it did drag in the middle. The only way we can get through it is by continuing to run these matches, get these guys some experience, upgrade their attributes, but I digress. The main event is a strongman competition between Bronson Fraley and Jamari Meese. A series of challenges to prove who is the more powerful of the two. While Jamari Meese is intent on getting another match with Fraley, Frank Norris books this competition instead. The segment rating gets a 16, and things seem to be going in favor of Jamari Meese until Black Bull makes his presence known and shuts down the competition. Black Bull and Bronson Fraley then begin to beat down Jamari Meese, which would leave the crowd in shock. This is really one of the first times the crowd will ever see someone get jumped in the way that Jamari Meese is getting jumped here. We were able to help out our storylines a bit. We did get some good progression for those storylines, and we end the night with an overall rating of 15. The show does increase our popularity. We're going to address the locker room, and we're going to continue to give our big boys pats on the back to keep them happy, to keep them with us, because we do not want to lose our prominent players. You know, Raul Erickson, I'm fine releasing, but the guys that have a future with the Wham, we need to keep them happy. Blankenship seems pleased, and Super Demon seems pleased. Financial report, we actually get close to almost profiting. We spent $360 on the workers. We made $200 on ticket sales, and we lost $271 in total. And you see, we are digging down into the red. However, we do have some time to alleviate this debt. So all in all, not our best show, not our worst show, but we do have something to build on as our storylines continue to gain heat. Big news, gentlemen. Saita Kuroki has accepted our contract terms, and we're going to bring this big man in. We have just signed the biggest free agent I think we possibly could have signed right now, and I love that for us. And with the signing of Saita Kuroki brings the release of Raul Erickson. This man has done absolutely nothing but disappoint us. He's only had 2 matches here in the Wham. Both matches brought a segment of 0. So clearly this man is not a needle mover whatsoever in the slightest bit. So we are going to release the boy, and probably will never see him again. Now, before we get into the next show, a couple of admin things that we want to do. We want to establish some kind of positive relationship with some of these other wrestling companies, as it is one of our goals to create a worldwide wrestling alliance. So we are going to get in contact with some of these companies and see if we can improve our standing with them a little bit. We're going to adopt friendly attitudes with each and every one of these guys, except for the SPW. Now, Viva La Lucha is one that I really want to keep an eye on, as well as Frank Norris Promotions, given that we are in the Mid-South, rather close to Mexico. We really want to try to establish a pipeline of workers that are not available to SPW. Another thing we're going to do is we are going to add Bryant Hines and Saita Kuroki to our booking team, as they both got some booking skill. Bryant Hines actually has booking skill of 79, which is actually astounding. And hopefully we can generate some good creative energy with a team of 3 now. We were normally getting about 100 creative energy per show, and we're going to see what we get on the next show. But we are going to spend some of it on some character ideas, and then we're going to spend some of those character ideas. So we will apply creative ideas to Jamari Meese, Wayne Blankenship, Bronson Fraley, and we're going to find someone to use this near certainty on as well. And that final character idea will in fact go to the Big Bill, Gary Cowell. And that is able to improve his momentum, but he's still annoyed. All these guys are still annoyed. I think the next move is to offer some of our primetime players maybe a little bit of a higher contract to give them the boost of signing that new contract. So Bronson Fraley is going to be a bit of our guinea pig here. We're going to give him 30, and we're going to keep his merchandise the same as well. We're going to make this offer, and we'll see exactly what kind of impact that has on Mr. Fraley. But this man is going to be one of the biggest stars in the company, so I cannot afford to allow his morale to dip any much further than it already has. And you can actually see Frank Norris Productions has adopted a friendly attitude towards us, which is a great step into changing our relationship and establishing some kind of alliance, because Frank Norris Jr. got the inheritance. Frank Norris Sr. did not. Frank Norris Jr. still has good ties with SPW. Frank Norris Sr. does not. So we're gonna tiptoe around this dynamic and see exactly what we can do. And I will clarify, if an SPW worker is employed with FNP and we end up establishing some kind of alliance, I'm still not allowed to use the workers that are employed by SPW in any capacity, whether they are primarily employed by someone that I am in good standing. And Bronson Fraley has accepted his new contract. He got a little bit of a bonus, which he's got to appreciate. Let's check if it had any kind of positive reaction to him. It did not have a positive enough impact on his morale to bring him out of the annoyed state. And it breaks my heart to say this, the Saita Kuroki era ended before it even started. SPW blocked my biggest free agent signing yet, and I just signed Kuroki, and I'm gonna have to get rid of him already, as he has been hired by SPW on a handshake deal, you sons of bitches. So thank you for the short bit of dopamine that you gave me while you were on my roster. Mr. Kuroki, I hope things do not work out between you and SPW, because I was actually really looking forward to having you on my roster, but rules are rules, and I'm going to release you. We have also now reached the point, the very sad point, that every single worker on my roster is now annoyed. And what I fear is that the morale is just so bad it's going to continue to compound on itself, making these guys even more upset that they're a part of such a negative, toxic locker room. So the writing is on the wall. This roster may get entirely changed out over the span of 1926, to the exception of a few foundational pieces that I've got my eyes on. We're going to give Jamari Meese the night off, as in canon he was just jumped in the most brutal attack anyone has ever seen in professional wrestling so far. Granted, nowadays in today's standards it would be seen pretty mild, and the worker would probably show up the next show the next week. But this is the 1920s after all. Jamari Meese suffered a serious attack. He's going to get the night off. We'll see him next month. Kelvin Gebhardt, also one of the most confrontational men in the locker room. We're going to give him the night off as well. We are going to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and let's take a look at what our booking team meeting yields. So Bryant Hines got a total of 43. Frank Norris is actually earning less with a partner, it seems, as we typically got about 103. But Bryant Hines is still a positive to this booking team, as we are getting about 121 on this meeting anyway. We'll see what it looks like for the next meetings, but that does allow us to spend some more creative energy, and we're going to use it on some creative finishes this time to see if we can improve the match quality a little bit. A near certainty, we like to see that, and we also got another near certainty, this time for Bronson Fraley. And it wouldn't be the Wham without our locker room incidents, and the first being Wayne Blankenship and August Washburn needing to be separated after a heated argument. Now what's interesting is that these are two of our more positive personality types, as Washburn is a people person and Wayne Blankenship has a quiet personality type. But it seems that nothing needs to be managed from this point on as of right now. Kyson Mays brought before Wrestler's Court, this time Keith Truex being the judge, sentencing him to buy drinks for everyone after the show, which is interesting given the prohibition period that we are in. Benson Sandy has gotten a lot of heat with the rest of the locker room due to his recent attitude, and we're going to give him a stern warning. And Tanel came to me backstage with an angle idea. These are the kind of locker room incidents we need to see. We're going to address the locker room, will allow the open forum, get everyone a little bit of small morale boost to keep them away from that annoyed status. With that being said, with all the distractions now out of the way, we are getting into the amazing Grappling Spectacle 9. In this show, we will be utilizing dark matches for the very first time, as Steven Vecchio and Super Demon compete, as well as Albie Dewberry and August Washburn. We just want to try to get these guys as much experience and reps as possible. It only costs $80 to create both of those matches, so it's not going to break our bank. You know, $80 is not going to make or break us right now. But let's get into the rundown for the actual show. Neil Allman performs some feats of strength for the crowd, much like others have done. Bronson Fraley takes on Keith Truex in a true David versus Goliath match in cross-division competition. Black Bull and Benson Sandy round out our heavyweight competition for the night. We've got Wayne Blankenship and Yavraj Tanel in some junior heavyweight division action, and Gary Cowell and Kyson Mays finally look to have the grudge match that these two have been looking for. Kyson Mays made the challenge 2 months ago. Gary Cowell was nowhere to be found last month, but he is here tonight. It is confirmed that they will be going at it. They will be duking it out. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into these pre-match shows. I'm just going to gloss over these guys. Super Demon was really off his game. This 7-minute match dragged in the middle, which is really disappointing to see. Segment rating of 11. Super Demon does turn in an in-ring performance of 23 though. Next match is a segment rating of 16. Albie Dewberry picks up a victory over August Washburn. Dewberry gives a performance of 27, which is nice to see. Now the show really starts to get going here. Neil Allman is directed by Frank Norris to put on a performance for the fans, showing his strength and power much like the others have done before him. However, Neil Allman is hesitant and would insist on being put into a match instead. He does go through with the performance, even if reluctant to do so, and the crowd is very pleased. Neil Allman is a big, strong man, and this gets the night off to a good start. And this match immediately kills it. That is so disappointing. We go from a segment rating of 30 down to a segment rating of 5. The crowd was white hot for this match. Bronson Fraley dominated Keith Truex, wins the match in 5 minutes. The crowd did get hotter, so that is good. But the segment rating of 5 is just awful. Let's check out the dirt sheet here. We do get quite a few bonus, but the amount of penalties is just something that we're not going to be able to overcome. The segment rating was penalized due to the negative impact of the road agent notes being used. That is very interesting. Let's check out the road agent notes. It's pretty simple here. We put in a creative finish. It was a squash match, more or less, and the fans just must not be too fond of these kinds of matches, so we'll be sure to steer clear of squash matches in the future. Our next match puts us up to a segment rating of 15. This is more of what we are okay with seeing. Wrestling rating of 23, but of course our road agent and refereeing will bring us down every single time. Benson Sandy picks up a huge victory over Black Bull via roll-up, and what happens here is Black Bull tries to pull some shenanigans, gets a little too aggressive, disregarding the referee's direction and the rules here, and Bryant Hines, being the manager that he is, helps out his boy Benson Sandy and makes way for a huge upset in the heavyweight division. In the next match, our segment rating goes down, and it says here we've had terrible wrestling from Blankenship and Tunnell, and I kind of got to blame Tunnell because Blankenship is actually one of our best in-ring competitors overall by quite a long shot. This match was designed to tell a specific story. They've got poor psychology, so the storytelling will never go well, except it is one of our booking requirements being a Southern wrestling company at the moment. However, this product will change in just a few more shows. Gary Cowell, Kyson Mays in the in-ring main event, a segment rating of 9. This match was 7 minutes long and there was a lack of flow noticeable. Creative finish was a success. Kyson Mays off his game. And to end the evening, Frank Norris ends the night with a huge announcement, an annual tournament that will be deemed as the Derby. This is set to take place in early 1926. The inaugural Derby will also crown a heavyweight champion for the first time. Frank Norris ends the night with a groundbreaking announcement stating that a heavyweight champion will be crowned early next year. And this is in fact a huge step for our company as we are on the road to crowning a first champion. The crowd was very hot at the end, so I'm going to assume that is a positive reception to the tournament. We get an overall rating of 14, which is, we want to stay on the higher side of 15 at least. But these single digit matches, man, they piss me off because they just go straight to the shitter. Neil Allman had a real nice segment, but that was the highlight of the night. We're going to address the locker room. Of course, we're going to give Neil Allman some shine here, and we're also going to continue to pad the ego of Bronson Fraley, continuing to tell him that he is awesome. What I'm hoping to see out of Bronson Fraley is not just his morale go up as we continue to give him words of encouragement, but eventually a working relationship will be established between he and I, hopefully ensuring that he never gets angry enough to leave. That's what I'm hoping. Overall loss of $243 for this show, and we do reach 7 popularity here in the Mid-South now. On our way into the next show, we were able to find Brian Hatcher, 28 years old, 6'4", 270, big dude, lively personality. What does that mean? It means the worker is a lively, upbeat individual, has a positive natural impact on the backstage environment, less effect from negative morale, and greater effect from positive morale, as well as a chance of creating positive backstage incidents. This may be just what we need for the Wham. And you know what? Brian Hatcher is even decent fundamentally and physically. Doesn't have the best primary and mental abilities, but he does have a bit of psychology. He's not totally inexperienced. He's got some level of reputation, not high star quality, but this is definitely a guy that we're going to go after. Now, we offered him a $25 contract per show with no merchandise cut. I still don't think the merchandise is going to make a big deal, but it is interesting to give him different kinds of contracts. This guy's going to be $25 a show. We were, in fact, able to bring our boy Brian Hatcher in. And Yavaj Tunnell, it's time to start his turn back from face to heel where he is most natural. Technically, his quote last turn or his debut was fairly recent, so it's going to get penalized a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and get this started. We're going to try to do this a little bit of a slow burn. Okay, hold on. Taking a look at one of the biggest free agents, Alexander Keith, for some reason is now unemployed. He has been a star in this save so far. He's a part of SPW, he's part of FNP. For whatever reason, he was released on the 23rd of November. I wonder if something happened. He was in fact embroiled in a scandal after being caught involved in a drug smuggling operation, so SPW and FNP had no other choice but to release him. Now this is interesting because this guy has got some serious popularity here in the United States. He's got some great fundamental and physical skills, and even his performance is good. 74 star quality, 80 menace. So I'm not going to jump the gun and sign him right now, but I am going to put him on our short list and see what happens. Maybe bring him in 1926, but I do not want another Saito Karuki instance where I sign him on just for him to get re-picked up by SPW because I literally cannot even offer exclusive contracts given how small of a company we are. But that is a huge instance here in this universe that we are definitely going to keep an eye on. But with that being said, it's time to get into the next show, the 10th iteration of the amazing grappling spectacle. We got a huge night. The only person we're going to give the night off to is Yaraj Tanel. We gave some of our more toxic guys the night off last month, so we're going to put Tanel, the sleazy man, and just have him stay out of the locker room tonight. Going back to Oklahoma City for our venue, and the booking meeting generates 143 creative energy. That is great. We're going to continue to buy some ideas and continue to try to artificially improve our morale and our ratings. Locker room incidents. Kyle Tasker has turned up and requested that he be allowed to hang out backstage. I've never seen him before. He is a sleazy personality. We're going to tell him to go away. We do not need any more negative aspects in our locker room right now. Kyson Mays spreading rumors about Kelvin Gebhardt, and it almost led to a fight between the two. We're going to issue a stern warning. Gary Cowell turned up very late, breaking the locker room rules. Gary Cowell has been fined before for damaging a rental car, although he's never been late before. We're going to give him a stern warning, and it did have a small negative impact. Of course it did. Why would you not expect something to happen if you're late? What kind of crazy world would have consequences for not showing up on time? We had a few more smaller incidents that we got through, and it's time to address the locker room. We're going to go back to that open forum and allow people to air out their issues, get a small morale boost for everybody. But without further ado, it's time to get into the final iteration of the amazing grappling spectacle of this episode, our 10th show. No rundown for you this time. We're just going to get right into the nitty gritty. Brian Hatcher defeats Super Demon with a segment rating of 12 as Brian Hatcher makes his debut. In the opening segment of the real event, Frank Norris and Bronson Fraley make their way to the ring as they advertise the upcoming tournament to crown the first heavyweight champion of the WHAM. Norris addresses the excitement the tournament will bring, as well as the relief the fans will receive when Fraley is finally crowned champion, showing a massive amount of confidence for this duo. In our first bit of in-ring competition, we've got Wayne Blankenship and August Washburn going one-on-one, mano-a-mano. We get a segment rating of 15, Washburn in-ring performance of 19, Blankenship 20. The crowd is white hot already after our first match, and after 8.5 minutes, Wayne Blankenship forces August Washburn to tap out. However, Wayne Blankenship keeps the hold applied to August Washburn, causing excessive injury and clearly showing Blankenship's frustrations from losing to Albie Dewberry. Blankenship ignored the referee's attempts to break the hold and would not let go until Albie Dewberry came down to make the save. Once Blankenship noticed Dewberry, he released the hold and quickly gets out of the ring, staring down Dewberry as he checked on August Washburn. We got some heel tactics, some heel shistiness going on from Wayne Blankenship, keeping that hold applied that caused Washburn to submit, and Albie Dewberry, the good guy that he is, he came down to help out Washburn, which seemed to be just what Blankenship wanted. He wanted to get Albie Dewberry's attention, and that's just what he did with this post-match attack. In the next match, a single-digit match, you hate to see it. Kyson Mays defeating Gary Cowell in 7 minutes. Now you see, this is not a real match. This is a wild brawl you can see there, but it stemmed from an attack, a scuffle, a fisticuffs, a skirmish in the back, if you will. These two were just fighting, duking it out, and it eventually made its way out to the ring area to where the crowd could see. This is an intermission. Now, due to the technology, we've touched on this before, but it is 1925, so we have no Jumbotron for the crowd to watch. We have no backstage segments that the crowd can see. But this fight began, and it spilled out into the crowd area. It was a brawl, all things considered. And ultimately, Kyson Mays walked away with the upper hand on Gary Cowell after this fight was all said and done. And in the next match, you see that we've got Black Bull and Bryant Hines going one-on-one. And this is a bit of revenge for Black Bull as he aims to get back at Bryant Hines for intruding on his match against Benson Sandy last month. No Benson Sandy allowed out to the ring for this one, and Black Bull truly beats down Bryant Hines, reinforcing the power that Black Bull is capable of. In our main event for the in-ring action, Neil Allman, Kelvin Gebhardt. Neil Allman picks up a victory after 7.5 minutes, and these are two guys that will be a part of the Derby, giving us a preview of the heavyweight tournament that is to come at the beginning of next year. And Neil Allman, after the match, declares that he will win the Derby and prove that he is the best that SPW has to offer as the show comes to an end. So all in all, we're still sitting at an overall rating of 15. We want to see that get better. But we do have a couple decent segments. The single-digit match shouldn't have been a match really at all. It's really a segment in nature. However, we needed to book it as a match to keep our ratio from matches to segment the way that it should be. So we close out 1925 with an okay show. We're going to address the locker room. Neil Allman deserves some praise, and we're also going to give Wayne Blankenship some praise as well, as these two really are becoming really solid contributors. And if we can get just a few guys with better morale, we might be able to see some segments improve even without a new referee or a new road agent. We lose $200 on this show. Again, that margin is getting closer and closer. The more people that show up, still over at 7 in the Mid-South, but we do see a little bit of spillover in the other regions. And that will conclude the final show of 1925 here in this Effganic Genesis save. And while the numbers really aren't that great, you can see that the feedback is that it was not that bad given that the company is so small. And before we end things, we do talk to Brian Hatcher a little bit. We get him to consider changing his body shape, so he will upgrade from flabby, because that certainly is the face of a flabby man. And we are once again looking at a full roster of annoyed workers, to the exception of our newest worker, Brian Hatcher. But that is going to end this episode. Keep an eye out for the next one as we dive into 1926, do a little year in review for 1925, and see what's in store. There may just be a new referee that generates in 1926 to allow us to make some serious strides in progression. But for now, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.